The good Unai Emery spoke of his passion for the job and how he'd reorganised the team's defence. He indicated his willingness to leave Villarreal, and he said apparently all the right things.
Yeah.
And so keen were the board and so confident were they that this was the man to replace Steve Bruce. They were prepared to fly Emery to the northeast and push back first team training to accommodate his arrival.
Yeah.
So what happened after the meeting?
Well, I find all the very level of detail that comes out in the press about these transactions just a bit disconcerting, because why would this sort of level of information come out in the press unless someone's briefing it in? And the people that are briefing it in are probably Newcastle and probably Amanda, because that's her stock in trade.
So is it crisis management?
I think it's poor management, and I think it's not understanding the language that you're speaking. You know, if you're going to run a PR or a press campaign to announce the transaction that you're doing and you haven't got it done because you don't know the language that you're speaking in, then you're making yourself look relatively foolish. The argument that Eddie Howe should be somehow diminished by the fact that he's first, second, third or fourth on the list, well, football managers don't really care about that sort of things. In an ideal world, they'd like to be the most important person in the room, but he will be the most important person in the room when he gets in the job if he does a good job for them. So the fact he's been given an opportunity, which I'm not entirely sure he merits, will be more of a concern for Eddie Howe, because the opportunity will be significant. Newcastle are going to, once they overcome their short-term problems and once they get some football nous in their boardroom that understands how football really works rather than presents it in front of camera as a moth to the light, then you'll start to see Newcastle go through the gears that the economics will allow them to do. Right now, this is playing for the gallery. You know, I know people think that I've got this agenda against Amanda Staveley, but I haven't. I don't like people that say things in a certain way, and I don't respect certain things, but I do respect the fact that she somehow
got the deal.
She got the deal done. She's got a Rolodex of people that are unbelievable. She's got them in a room, whatever you think of that regime, and she's got a deal done by hook or by crook, by fortune or by chance. Right?
Yes.
But here we are now operating in the world of football, and you've got to speak the language of these people. You've got to speak the language of the industry, and you don't acquire that overnight. You acquire it over time with experience. And if you haven't got that experience, you better damn sure get some people in the room that do have it. And Jamie Rubin, in all his property deals, there is a unique code to every single industry, and football has its own language and has its own set of standards, its own set of communication tools. And there is no parallel universe where the media need to be briefed to such a point where the manager is almost done, but he isn't done.
Well, they've been left with egg in their face, so Simon, that's what I'm trying to get my head around.
That's my point.
How can it be, though, that they go into such detail with Unai Emery, but everything's done and dusted, then at the end of it, Emery gets up at wherever he was in the Zoom meeting and gives it, right, I'm not going.
Because the stupidity of the fact is that there was a key component in the scenario that they didn't address, which was Emery's relationship with the club that he's under contract with. And Fernando Roig and his ownership of it, who's a billionaire, who, my understanding of it, sat Emery down and gave him the facts of life about, do you want to go and work for this clown club that basically, not that they are a clown club.
They're not a clown club.
But this club, this outfit that are currently conducting themselves in this way, that don't know whether they're Arthur or Martha right now. Do you really want to go and work for an organisation that briefed the press in such a way that they don't even have a vision of their own
Yeah, but
ideals?
surely Emery's big enough to say, forget that.
They're not.
Yes, I do. I want to go and be part of Newcastle's history here.
And also, I suspect the owner of Villarreal, who's no slob himself, is a billionaire himself.
But you can get round that, though,
sat there going, first and foremost, you've undertaken a project. Second of all, you work for me. Third of all, I've backed you, supported you. Fourth of all, you're in a Champions League. He has the whip hand because he has the relationship. Newcastle have a bag of cash and an image, i.e. further down the line, we're going to be a huge football club that's going to win the Premier League. Villarreal have a reality. The guy has a relationship with him.
But I mean, Villarreal are Villarreal. This is Newcastle, whose entire future is going to be transformed.
Possibly.
And they're in the Premier League.
But they're going to go through several stages before they get to that. We all accept the fact that it took Manchester City 4 years to win the Premier League, and they went through various incarnations and learnt their trade and made various mistakes, right? Newcastle are going to go through a period of time. Do you want to be the first cab off the rank? Do you want to go and learn at the expense of those that don't know how the football world operates right now? Do you want to go and learn under the current regime of Newcastle that spend their main time briefing the press and not understanding the landscape, but getting a deal done and then talk about the deal afterwards?
Yeah, but when Emery gets in, if he was to get in at Newcastle, which he now will not, but if he was to get in there, Simon, he would do it his way. I mean, look at it this morning. Xavi, Barcelona wants Xavi, and the Qataris are saying he's not going. They will find a way. They will find a way.
But there's a different link there, isn't there? Because
if Emery really wanted to go, he would have gone.
Barcelona have far more lure than Newcastle do, and Xavi has a far stronger relationship with Barcelona than Unai Emery has with Newcastle. Unai Emery isn't going to Newcastle because he loves playing or working for the Geordies. He's going there because he's been given a project which has enormous cash reserves behind it.
Yeah.
And he also has
a 3-year deal.
And he also has to accept that there are limitations around what the expectation level is, given the knowledge that he's seeing the football knowledge. We're announcing deals, we're broadcasting PR from the get-go, every single nuance of what happens is being told to the press. Who wants to go and work in that environment? Where is the dignity and where is the football kudos and cachet about briefing the press within an inch of a transaction? That's poor form. You don't really see that very often in football. Football does have the propensity to announce things and get ahead of itself. But I don't think I've recalled seeing explanations about how deals have and haven't been done quite as openly as this is happening.
So are you telling me that Roy at Villarreal talked Unai Emery out of it?
I think he concentrated his mind and told him the facts of life about the reality of why would you want to go and work for people that conduct themselves in the media this way? Why would you go and take on a project on that's got many twists and turns in the road?
Because it's going to be a project.
It will be, but it was a massive project.
You can see Emery saying to Roy, "Look, it's going to be huge. I want to go."
It was a massive project taking on Manchester United after Alex Ferguson, but most of the sensible managers went, with no disrespect to David Moyes, I ain't taking that after Alex Ferguson. I'll let it settle down for a couple of years. And the first one out of the gate was David Moyes, and boom, what happened to him? His reputation got trashed, and it took him 5 years to get back from it.
Okay,
when you go to Newcastle, they've got to build, and there's going to be certain phases it goes through. So part of that would have been the ammunition that the Villarreal owner used to say to Unai Emery, by the way, I gave you an opportunity. I put you back in the mainstream. You stunk the place out at Arsenal. I rebuilt your career. I've given you backing. You're in the Champions League. Where do you think you're going?
Right. Okay, so, I mean, basically, Unai gave it... No, you're right. I'm saying... So he stays. So he's out of the equation. Now we're talking about Eddie Howe. You're surprised at 18-month deal? That's what's being spoken about.
No, because it's now being used as the Vogue transaction. I mean, in fairness, I put Ian Dowie, when I signed Ian Dowie, who got us promoted that season on an 18-month contract, and told him he was lucky to have a job because he was coming out of Oldham. So he'll go on the contract I wanted him to. And then he proved himself and he got a much longer contract. And then he became a pain in the backside, but that's a different discussion. The fact is now...
I like Ian Dowie.
Good, that's fine. Having worked for you, you might change your mind. The Vogue is that longer-term contracts are now becoming less and less of a commodity, which... I can understand on one respect, but I also, on the other hand of things, I think the most important ingredient in a football club is the football manager, because he's the one that spends your money, he's the one that represents you, he's the one that controls your charges.
Yeah.
So this idea that football managers get shorter-term agreements than players sometimes doesn't make sense, but on the other side of the argument, I can see the reasons why, because it gives you that get-out clause. Eddie Howe has an opportunity, and I don't blame him for taking it. It's going to be fraught with challenges for him, and all this money that he may or may not be given isn't going to come without a consequence, because Newcastle cannot really afford, in an ideal world, to be relegated.
But how does it look, Simon, if they were going to give Unai Emery a 3-year deal and they're going to give Eddie Howe an 18-month deal? How does that look?
Well, I think Eddie Howe will accept, because he's a big boy, that Unai Emery's credentials are bigger than his. Unai Emery has managed Arsenal, won tournaments, European tournaments consistently, and has just won the Europa League and is in the Champions League with a shout. So with respect, Eddie Howe's last achievement was to get Bournemouth relegated, and seemingly to not have the chutzpah to go and manage Celtic. So all of those things don't give him the same credentials as Unai Emery, and we all have to accept that.
Well, the ownership said that they would, in an ideal world, they want the new man to be in charge for the match at Brighton, 5:30 kickoff. It's live on talkSPORT, exclusively live on talkSPORT. Brighton against Newcastle. They want him to be in place at the Amex for that game. So far, we're yet to get confirmation that it's going to be Eddie Howe or whosoever. But we're keeping an eye on it. We're right across it. Talks ongoing, we understand, between Newcastle and Eddie Howe over the vacant manager's position. Unai Emery said, no, I like it at Villarreal and I stay.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Thursday morning, 10 till 1. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.